Hi there, I'm Luke, your friendly linguistics and language enthusiast, and this is Go Natural English. Have you noticed that when you say certain words, maybe even ones that are generally considered to be more simple words, like live and work, that you find yourself having confused looks from English listeners? Maybe even worse yet, they think you're saying a different word entirely, and it entirely throws you off. This can often be really frustrating for my students, and oftentimes it really chips away at their confidence and their motivation in speaking English. But I am going to talk to you guys today about some of the most commonly confused and mixed up words that non-native English learners make when speaking English, and also teach you ways to improve these pronunciations so that at the end of it, you should hopefully feel so much more confident in knowing these essential words. And remember, do stay till the end because I'm going to be giving you lots of common examples that I'm pretty sure you'll learn at least one new thing from this video. Really quick, stop what you're doing and sign up for my best English tips sent directly to your inbox. You want a fast and easy way to speak natural English? It takes 10 seconds to sign up. You'll also be happy you did. How to sign up? Click on the link in the description box below or go to gonaturaleneglish.com/email. All right, everyone, let's do this. With number 1, we have words like leave versus live. These two words can be incredibly tricky for many English language learners. For one, this can be because the sounds E and I are often very similar sounding to many non-native English speakers. And also because both of these words can often be interchanged very easily within sentences. For example, if you say something like, do you leave here versus do you live here? If you don't know how to make the pronunciation of these words, the meaning of what you said may not be completely clear to who you're talking to. If you'd like detailed guidance about how to make these two sounds, as well as other sounds that often get mixed up, including a and be sure to check our video up here where we walk you through step by step how to make these sounds more effectively. If you feel you're ready to practice these sounds in some commonly used words, then let's go for it. The words on the left are pronounced with the long E sound, while the words on the right are pronounced with the sound I. Repeat after me. Leave, live. Steal, still. Feel, fill. Feet, fit. These, this. You'll notice with the last one too, it's not just the vowels, but it's also in the word these. It ends in more of a z sound, whereas this ends in a more s sound. This is important because oftentimes if you're pronouncing both with an S and saying these, we don't know if you're saying this or these. So do try and remember to include both the correct vowel sound as well as the correct consonant s or z at the end. This will help you be so much clearer in these everyday words that you use. Now, for number 2, we have what's called long O versus short O, which are found in the names John, a man's name, and Joan, a woman's name. Clearly, you don't want to mix these two up because you might confuse your listener about whether you're speaking about a man or a woman. Students learning English often pronounce both these names very similarly or many times even exactly the same by pronouncing both as Joan, which is the long O used for the woman's name, Joan. However, this is not true for the man's name, John. A little bit of context for this is, for one, many of my students come to me saying that they learned a more British pronunciation of it, where British people pronounce the name John with a bit more of a sound that's called open O, something like all. This British pronunciation of this vowel can often sound very similar to many of my students' ears, and as a result, they pronounce both of them very similarly to the point that we as English speakers can't tell which vowel they're making. Here's some good news though, for those of you who are trying to speak with a more American type accent or pronunciation. This sound in American English is either much less pronounced than it is in British English, or it's eliminated altogether and instead is replaced with an ah vowel, like in father. This is the type of accent that I speak with, and I find that it's a really useful tool for my English language learners to apply to these short O's. So rather than trying to make this open O pronunciation, I often encourage my students to make more of an ah pronunciation because it's very clear to everyone that you're speaking to, and it's also a much bigger difference in the O pronunciations and very clear which word you're saying. It's much easier to distinguish Joan and John with an ah. Let's try this trick with some other commonly confused word pairs, where the first word on the left that I'll say is made with the O sound, and the second word that I say is pronounced with the ah sound, like in father. Joan, John. Boat, bought. Note, not. Try it out for yourself and see if it makes a big difference in how clear and understandable your speech is to English speakers. Moving on to number 3, we have words like cut versus caught. Many of my students have a hard time distinguishing these two words and will often pronounce both like an ah, like in caught. You can imagine with a sentence like I cut it versus I caught it can have drastically different understandings depending on which vowel you use. So how do we make these two sounds different? For this, I like to focus on jaw height. The one that you're probably more familiar with is ah. With ah, it's a lower vowel, pronounced lower in the mouth. So in order to achieve that, I like to encourage my students to focus on their jaw height and achieve a low, very open jaw height for ah. Try it with me. Ah. Now let's compare that with This is the same sound that we hear in words like what, cut, and but. This one has a more middle tongue height and therefore also a middle jaw height. Be sure to distinguish the jaw height between ah. Try that out for yourself and see if you hear and feel a difference when you make those two sounds. You'll also notice that the vowel length is different. In the mid-jaw height it's actually pretty short, whereas in ah, you pronounce it for longer. With the example that we gave with cut and caught, you'll notice that I hold the vowel a little bit longer for ah. Listen again. Cut, caught. That's another really useful strategy to help you make it clear which word you're saying. Now let's try it with some other words. First with the short mid-jaw height vowel and then second with the long low jaw height vowel ah. Cut, caught. Wonder, wander. Duck, dock. Dug, dog. Luck, lock. How do you guys think about those? When you did the difference in jaw height, did you see a difference in how those words sounded? Keep practicing. It will get better over time. Now, for number 4, we have words with in them. This can often show up in words like work versus walk, as well as hurt, heart, and hot. All of those can be very confusing for non-native English speakers to not only learn how to understand, but also learn how to say themselves. For example, if you, like many languages do, drop the R, this can cause really confusing differences between a sentence like, "Are you hurt?" versus "Are you hot?" where they can sound very similar to the point of not knowing which one you're saying. If you'd like a step-by-step guide on how to make the sound, check out our video on it up here. If you're ready, let's practice and focus on my mouth for each word. Work, walk, hurt, heart, hot. Now, last but not least, this one is huge and very commonly used and very commonly confused, and that is the pronunciation of similar sounding numbers. You would not believe the number of people learning English who have such a difficult time with this, and it's completely understandable. These words sound very similar. If you consider words like 13 versus 30, 14 versus 40, 15 versus 50, it's very easy to understand how these are difficult to distinguish, both listening to them and saying them. But I'm going to walk you through two very essential differences between the pronunciations of the teen words and the larger numbers. And this will help you in your pronunciation and understanding of these crucial words. My first tip to distinguish these two types of words is stress. Word stress is when you place more emphasis on a particular syllable by making it louder and longer. Word stress is really important in the English language, and this is a perfect example of it. For the teen words, we find that the stress tends to go on the final syllable, that is, the syllable that ends in teen, whereas the larger numbers like 30, 40, 50 tend to put the stress on the first syllable. Let's put this into action and notice what happens with the stress as I say each word back to back. 13, 30, 14, 14, 40, 15, 50. Did you notice that in each of the teen words, the word teen was the stressed syllable, whereas in all of the larger numbers, 30, 40, 50, it was always the first syllable that got the most stress. That's a huge part of being able to understand which word is being said. My second tip to understanding and producing which word is which is for the letter T in each of these words. Because in the teen words, the T is in the stressed syllable, we pronounce it like a true T sound. Whereas in the larger numbers, we don't really pronounce the T like a true T. In fact, it sounds a bit more like a D sound. So listen to the difference for these numbers in terms of how the T is said. You ready? Listen closely. 16, 60, 17, 70, 18, 80, 19, 90. Did you hear the difference in the sound that's spelled with a T, but in the case of the larger numbers is really pronounced more like a D? That is yet another tip to help you both say and understand these easily confused numbers a lot better. All right, everyone, that is it for this video. Did you learn something new today? I sincerely hope that you did. If you did, be sure to leave us a comment down below letting us know what word or words you learned to say differently. If you enjoyed this, be sure to sign up for our free Go Natural English tips, where we can send you regular information and tips about ways to improve your English fluency and confidence. You can click the link up here and enter your email address. It's as easy as that, and totally free. I hope you use the information that you learned today and apply it to your everyday life to communicate that much more effectively. I know you all can do it. I totally believe in you. If you'd like to continue learning, I highly recommend you check out this video. Hope to see you soon. Bye!